capital, Nairobi, specifically KICC. We're set to have a sit-down interview with the Cabinet Secretary in charge of the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, Madam Rebecca Miano. It has been an interesting year, and we just want to get her take on the highs and lows as she serves in her portfolio in charge of the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife. Madam Rebecca Miano, thank you so much for your time, and karibu sana. Should I festivities?
Yes, thank you.
So let's start with your reflection of the year that has been. It's been a year of high highs and low lows. Let's talk about your portfolio and some of the achievements throughout the year 2024.
Thank you very much for this conversation that is coming at the right time when we are ushering in the festive season, the Advent season, and it's a good time to reflect on the whole year. 2024 has been a rock and roll year, so to say. It's a year that has been pivotal and significant, a year of achievements, but in equal measure, a year of challenges. And so I can say it's sort of a balanced year. We have made great strides. I've been in this docket for the last 4 months after the reconstitution of cabinet, and I am very glad at the progress that the tourist sector and conservation sector is making. I want to say that we have recorded the highest number of visitors and tourists in Kenya's history. 2023, we closed at 2 million visitors. We are currently working on the numbers, and I'm glad to say that we will meet our target of 2.5 million visitors. If you look at these numbers, it shows a recovery to pre-COVID numbers, and therefore we have to sustain that. We've had, of course, quite a number of challenges, especially the months of June and the month of July, when we had political activities, a bit of instability. Around that time, we saw quite a lot of cancellations and reduction in some of the numbers, which means then we could have closed at higher numbers, but it suffices to say that the numbers are still higher than the previous years.
And what do you attribute this improvement to? Because I'm pretty sure there are concerted efforts from government and non-government actors who have actually led to this boost in numbers. And equally, talk to us about local tourism, which is a key component and brought out actually during the COVID era, which showed us the importance of local tourism as well.
Yes, I attribute the increase in numbers is attributed to various things. The first one, and we must all agree, His Excellency the President has for the last 2 years, being the biggest ambassador of Kenya as a brand, has positioned Kenya on the global map, which has then brought awareness in terms of Kenya as a country. And that is linked with some of the things that Kenya is leading in. For example, climate change campaigns and all the activities around climate change, the planting of 15 billion trees in 1 year. But secondly, Kenya has in itself improved the tourism sector. If you see the awareness, the products that we have as a country, we are diversifying. Traditionally, Kenya is known for its bush and beaches, but the diversification has then brought forth other things like cultural tourism, health and wellness that is gaining a lot of traction. We have adventure tourism, sports tourism, agri-tourism, and therefore the diversified products have also contributed to the increase. Also, we are diversifying the source markets away from the traditional markets of USA, Uganda, and other traditional sources. We have seen an increase in numbers, especially from the Asia, the Pacifics. Recently, we saw a big group from the Caribbean, and which shows there is quite a lot of awareness about Kenya as a good tourism destination. In terms of marketing, There has been improvement of marketing for Magical Kenya and the whole brand. And we have seen quite a lot of awareness in many of these countries. And also Kenyans have positioned their country in very high echelons. And many visitors who come to Kenya, what is most memorable is the hospitality, the warmth, the energy of the Kenyan people. I traveled not too long ago, and in an airport, one of the people told me that they are able to identify Kenyans because they seem to be happy, they seem to be okay. And one tourist told me what Kenyans offer in terms of warmth, smiles, hospitality is actually what every human being needs. With such strong referrals and references, that I think has contributed to the increase of numbers. And also in our wildlife conservation, we have worked a lot to make the experience in our national parks memorable. We are aware that today's traveler is interested in the experience and not only coming to see various things and various places. So we are also improving our products to ensure that the tourists have the experience they require. And the policies that we are putting in place are also helping attract more visitors, like the visa-free announcement, despite the teething challenges and the feedback which we are addressing. This has gone a long way in promoting Kenya.
That's really proper. It's key to know that diversification is key, as you've mentioned, and the concerted efforts in marketing Kenya. As Kenyans, we are brand ambassadors. Let's talk about your docket. As you've mentioned, you've been in the tourism and wildlife docket for roughly 4 months, and I'm pretty sure you had to hit the ground running. There are a myriad of challenges which you faced head on. I'd just like your take, because I'm pretty sure our audiences would like to hear what the Cabinet Secretary has to say on them. One of the key issues, perhaps touching on the ambitious conservation project to address elephants' overpopulation. And I'm pretty sure the people in Mwea and the larger Embu area would really like to know some of the steps taken to address some of the challenges they've faced when it comes to human-wildlife conflicts. Talk to us about this.
Thank you very much. And indeed, it is true. I got into this docket with more energy than ever. I was very excited, forever grateful to His Excellency for appointing me into such a critical docket, because this docket can be the driver of the economy. The turnaround time in some of the things we are doing is much faster than many other dockets. It's a good employer. It creates a lot of employment and economic empowerment. But back to your question, we did last month, or the month of October, a translocation of elephants. And the background to this is that Mwea National Reserve is supposed to hold 49 elephants, but over time, the population has increased to about 156 elephants, causing a serious overpopulation. And this is caused, the overpopulation is good news because it shows that poaching has gone down, it shows that we are conserving our animals properly. But then, when you have overpopulation, it is not sustainable. You find territorial wars, increased human-wildlife conflicts, and that's why we came up with this project to translocate elephants from Mwea National Reserve to the Aberdares. And the Aberdares is a good place to take the elephants because it is bigger, fully fenced, and has more foliage. So when we went to Mwea, one of the exciting things is the cooperation we saw with the communities. They fully understood why we had to do the translocation, because they had had endless years of complaining with the destruction of their crops, at times even destruction of life. And it was a very, very successful complex but successful operation. The expertise that was demonstrated by our KWS was very heartwarming, and we were able to translocate in the first phase 54 elephants from Mwea to Aberdare National Park. So the partnership with the community is quite good, and I am happy that that is an immediate reduction of human-wildlife conflict, and sometime next year we'll embark on phase 2, so that then we leave Mwea with the capacity that it is required to carry.
That's keen to note, and it's proper to know that it's a continuous process as well. Let's talk about yet another controversial issue, because even as the government endeavors to bring accountability, especially in government services and the payment of government services, we've seen some teething problems. And specifically, I'm talking about the e-citizen services, where there has been difficulties in accessing some of the services. Of course, we've seen concerted effort from government entities, including yourself personally, when you reached out to the German ambassador to assist him in a small challenge. Let's talk about the steps taken to ease the difficulties, the systemic challenges when it comes to accessing the services offered on the e-citizen platform.
Thank you very much for that question, because we know technology, digitalization is part of the government agenda, with a target of making digital and automating as many as possible of government services, which then promotes efficiency, transparency, and even the experience. And therefore, e-citizen has been a game changer generally, but specifically for the KWS, it has become a game changer. We have seen increased revenue collection, very significant. And if you look at more than 30% increase in revenue. The teething problems were there, and most of them were caused by lack of connectivity, lack of internet, which has now been resolved. The other challenge was just the process was too long. It was taking more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes, where visitors were required to register and then pay to e-citizen using M-Pesa. International visitors did not have M-Pesa. So at the start of it, they would look for a local person to pay for them. But in addressing the challenges, first, we have increased connectivity. We have partnership with our service providers who have brought internet into the parks, and that has really helped to ease the problem. Secondly, we are now taking or using credit cards. We have PDQ machines, and visitors are able to pay directly for their services. But thirdly, we have streamlined the process. A process that was taking 11 minutes is now able to take only 2 minutes. We are doing away with the need of a visitor having to open an account and do so many other things, answer many questions, to just a simple process of logging in, and then you go straight to choosing what the service is, what you want to do, and you pay direct. And then you're given your receipt, which is able to be verified, and the wardens are able to know who has paid and who has not paid. The next step is that we are introducing an e-wallet for our national parks, so that you can be able to use your wallet, buy what you want for as many parks, so that the last minute you don't have to go and pay. And we are determined to use technology to make the process as seamless, as efficient, as quick, and as open and as enjoyable as it can be. Of course, we must appreciate, at times you go through some little teething problems to perfect the process. Next year, we want to see what else we can do, and even to up the customer delight and experience. But what has worked very well is stakeholder engagement. listening, watching out for what the customers are facing, and then we sort that out. Okay. So we are very hopeful that going forward, it's going to be a fantastic experience. Yeah.
It's proper to know that you have your ear to the ground in terms of engagements and whatnot in order to bring about efficiency. Let's talk about yet another issue that perhaps the residents of Kiambu County may have close to their heart. You recently gave an order to Kenya Wildlife Services to get rid of all the hyenas that are marauding that particular area in Juja, Kiambu County. We'd just like perhaps a status update for the residents who are watching back at home to get a feel of the efforts by the Ministry of Wildlife in order to alleviate the challenges that have been faced, because one life is too many.
It's true. We had seen earlier a significant increase in the population of hyenas, and particularly in Juja. Though we also had issues with other parts of the country, the Juja one was very prominent. And the reason why we had many more hyenas than before, there was recovery from the drought. And you know, during the drought, we had quite a lot of animals that had died. There was a lot of carcass, and hyenas gained in that regard from that challenge of the drought, and therefore they really multiplied. And when we got the rains and the recovery, we had quite a big population of hyenas. And this was abated and aided by some of the open quarries in Juja, where many of the contractors had not rehabilitated the quarries, and the hyenas were finding very good hiding place. When this situation happened, we moved in as KWS and as government, and I was there also in person to offer direction. And we directed KWS to have a 24/7 surveillance and to manage the Hyena Menace. I am glad to report that that was managed. We moved the hyenas to where they should be. We informed the Ministry of Environment to take up with the quarries so that there is environmental rehabilitation. We had a lot of education, dissemination of information to the residents, what they should do and what they should not. And you are also now aware that the situation is contained. But going forward, we are happy because recently we had a pass-out parade for KWS Rangers, 1,274, and this is after a period of 10 years. KWS had not graduated any new rangers for 10 years. What that does is that we had serious shortage of rangers and other things. Now with the new rangers, we will have more surveillance, we will have more personnel. On the same day, we flagged almost 98 vehicles. So we are well equipped with human resource and with the resources that we require in terms of vehicles. We have equipped our rangers to be able to manage better such situations and reduce generally in the country the whole of human-wildlife conflict.
Okay, that's definitely noted. As we finalize on the nitty-gritty details touching on your docket, perhaps talk to us about the counties that might be taking over the management of game parks and game reserves in the country. We've definitely seen some steps and government speaking to the actualization of this particular agenda. How important is it, and does it add to the bigger picture of devolving and bringing services to the mashinani through the counties? Yeah.
Yes, you're right. The KWS, which is a national entity, manages the national parks. The counties manage the national reserves, and so the mandate is quite clear. Now, for the national reserves, which are quite a number and are under the management of the counties, we have a lot to do together with the counties. We need many of them to operationalize the national reserves, and they have endless potential for conservation and tourism attraction. And if the counties take the reserves, operationalize them, and equip them with the facilities that are required, it will go a long way in offering them economic empowerment, offering them tourist attractions, and also revenue collection, foreign exchange, and we need to encourage the counties to reach out to the KWS and operationalize the national reserves. We have a few counties that have signed MOUs, memorandums of understanding, with KWS to manage their reserves for them, and that is working well. And for example, Mwea National Reserve is managed by KWS. Sibiloi in the north is managed by KWS, and a few others. But it is important to operationalize those national reserves because they are a national heritage. It will devolve tourism properly. It will devolve wildlife conservation and offer more jobs to the communities, offer businesses to the communities. And I think it is part of our priority to work together with the counties so that eventually the many national reserves that are underutilized or are not operationalized at all can now join the conservation and tourism assets that we have.
Okay, that's really proper. Allow me to broaden the conversation because, Madam CS, you happen to have served in various portfolios. I won't go into the nitty-gritty details of your previous job, but you're one of the few ladies who have managed to lead the cabinet, to lead the tourism docket, rather, to lead the Ministry of Trade and Investment docket, and equally lead the ASAL and Regional Development docket. You seem to have trusted hands. Talk to us about your experience since you were appointed as Cabinet Secretary and generally your experience through these various portfolios.
I must say, and I must acknowledge that I'm very grateful to His Excellency for according me the opportunity to serve in all those capacities. First, I was nominated into Cabinet as the Minister for East Africa Community, Arid and Semi-Arid Lands and Regional Development. When there was a reshuffle, I got yet another opportunity to serve in the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, and now as in the Ministry of Tourism. And this has been a great experience for me. If you look at the broad mandate of those three ministries, it has made me get deep understanding of the government, the wide range of issues and processes of government. I have deeply understood policies that manage regional integration, that manage our arid and semi-arid lands, that hold most of the wildlife. I have deep understanding of trade in this country, investment, and also industry. And it looks like that was a very good preparation for me to come to this docket. Whereas before I was promoting investment, now I'm promoting tourism. I have a deep understanding of the arid and semi-arid lands and the potential it has for tourism, for wildlife conservation. And to me, it feels like I am where I am supposed to be. I could probably have understood this government deeply just because of those various dockets that I have served. As a person, I'm also grateful because of the agility it has given me, and also a confirmation that I am multi-skilled and multifaceted and able to fit into whatever docket I have. And mine is to serve Kenya. Mine is to serve in whatever docket I'm given. with dedication and with hard work and diligence. And I have learned that actually skills, leadership skills, competence, the technical skills you require, the qualifications are not restricted into one area. You can go out there and utilize the skills that you have in whichever field that you are given. And so I'm very grateful for that wide exposure that I have gotten, and I feel more determined to even do more and even learn more and to sharpen and hone my skills even more going forward.
And I have to sneak in this question, Madam CS, because performance delivery is quite important, especially when it comes to government services to the Kenyan people. You've had the experience of signing performance contracts time and time again, and we've heard from the president on how important it is to have his men on the ground and women on the ground aligned with the government agenda and all that. Speak to the strengths that come through when signing performance contracts where CSs are actually held accountable, that you have to, have some deliverables and achieve them at the end of the year.
Yes. Performance contracting is the way to go and is one of those critical things that the government has implemented. For example, just last week, I had the honor to sign performance contracts with my principal secretaries and the state agencies under my ministry. And this was a culmination because earlier on I had signed my performance contract with His Excellency the President. What that does is that your goals and targets are well spelled. You have discussed them, you have spelled them, there is a work plan, there is timelines. And that makes delivery so much easier because you know what you're supposed to deliver, you know what the targets are. More importantly, there is performance evaluation. We are now working towards performance evaluation for the period 2023-2024, the contracts that we had signed before. And I also find it among my team members, it is very clear what everybody should be doing. You are not arguing like you're supposed to do this. Somebody may tell you, I was not aware. Another may say the CS is changing the goalposts. Everything is in black and white. And strategic planning is one of the best things, not only in management, but in running a government. And I am glad that it has now taken prominence, it has matured, we are all aware of what we should be doing, and the system is all clear. And so it is a very exciting regime that we are in, and everybody then wants to rank well, and you can't rank well if you do not deliver.
Okay, that's proper to note. As we finalize, Madam CS, as you mentioned earlier on, you've been in the docket for some 4 months and some change. Let's talk about the reason for the season, even as we encourage local tourism, because just recently you were leading the team in lighting KICC, welcoming the festive season. You had some children here entertaining the guests who are actually from a children's home. Let's speak about the steps to boost local tourism during this season in order to boost these numbers to become even better. Yes.
Thank you. The topic of domestic tourism is very significant and critical. Traditionally, not only in Kenya, but in African countries, the perception was that tourism is for people from other countries who fly in through the airports to come and see the countries they are visiting. But that is not the case. Tourism is for everyone. And Kenya post-COVID, I think COVID was the turning point where borders were closed, activities were less. We saw an upsurge in local tourism, and it was like an eye-opener that there are things to do in our country. We have seen a very good increased uptake on local tourism. We have seen a number of Kenyans, many Kenyans visiting our national parks. When on 28th of September, we offered Kenyans free entry into the national parks, we saw a big turnout. Over 86,000 Kenyans visited our national parks. That number had never been seen before. And even post that, we are seeing a lot more visitors. During Jamhuri Day in the evening, I had the pleasure of taking the president of the Gambia to the Nairobi National Park. The traffic I saw, the visitors, it was very, very encouraging. Not only in the national parks, even the beaches. If you look at some of the cultural events that we have planned in the recent months, like the Turkana Cultural Festival, Tobong Lore, the Ma Festival, Lamu Cultural Festival, and many others, including the festival we just had yesterday, organized by the minorities. You find people are traveling from far and wide, not only within Kenya, but even in the region. Just yesterday, for the Minorities Day, their cultural commemoration, we had participants from 32 counties, and Bomas was full to the brim, and even in all these festivals. But also, if you check, especially over the weekends, you find, especially our young people, I'm very impressed by our young people. They have embraced local tourism. If you go to Naivasha and other routes, if you look at mountain hikes, adventure, there is proper embrace of local tourism. And that's why recently, when I was launching my ministry strategic plan, I also launched the Youth in Tourism and Conservation Initiative, which we are rolling out in earnest when we resume in January. It will be situated, the location will be the Trust Fund building, so it will be a physical center and also digital platform where the youth can come in, and we work together through opportunities in tourism, their participation even in brand management, photography, and I really look forward to some of these initiatives that are encouraging domestic tourism. But back to the season. This festive season that comes at the end of the year is a very special season, traditionally, not only for the Christian community, but also for the whole world. It is a season that brings joy. It's a season for generosity. It's a season for kindness, for reflection, refreshing, and it is a very special season. Even as we reflect on how the year has been, the lows and the highs, the achievements and the challenges, it is a good time to slow down. It's a good time to celebrate with family and friends. It is a time for giving. When we had a function to light up the KICC, we invited some children from the children's home. We wanted them to have the experience of the season. Just the mere fact that we brought them to the center of the city to experience the feeling, to see the lighting of the season was a very good, it was a very good feeling. And we also had invited the creatives, the artists. We had some performances, and we hoped that even in a small way, we will spread the feeling of the season and the reason for the season. But above all, we must also show compassion and share whatever we have with those that we need to share. And that's why it was also an opportunity for me and my ministry to wish all the Kenyans Merry Christmas, happy festive seasons, and the tourists who have chosen to spend the festive season in our country. to extend a warm welcome and tell them we are 100% sure that they'll have a good experience, and to wish them a Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have this sit down with you after a busy year 2024. And in these times of criticism, it's proper to give credit where it's due. So it's really proper to note that through your ministry, the government has been at the forefront in terms of ensuring that Kenya is the gateway to East Africa. Through tourism numbers, we've had the president time and time again say, you know, Kenya is the origin of mankind. Yeah. We've equally heard of him mentioning that it's the only capital city, Nairobi, with a park, you know. So it's really proper to note that we are advertising Kenya and putting it on the global map. Asante sana for your time, and thank you.